You're welcome to this edition of Updates. We are updating you on the current security situation in Africa and Nigeria. Now, we want you to subscribe to support this channel by subscribing to our channel and also sharing the videos. Again, my name is Rimamnde Shawulu. This is Update. Well, after denials and denials, the Niger State government now received school children that were abducted from the Catholic school in Papiri in Niger State. That is the St. Mary's Catholic School mass kidnapping of over 300 kids. Earlier, the Niger State governor had denied that some kids were kidnapped. Some media and the Catholic authorities of the school had to come out to the public to defend themselves about the kidnapping. And of course, the figures varied. Initially, it was said that 300 students were kidnapped. The Catholic Church came out to say that parents of 50 children had reported that their children were with them in their homes and had not been abducted. However, in an interesting development, on December 8th, federal authorities said in Abuja that 100 school children were rescued, but it did not disclose the operational details of how the rescue or the ransom, the negotiations that resulted in the rescue of the students. And of course, the students were said to have been prepared for medical checks and reunification with other children. Meanwhile, over 100 students still remain in captivity. And of course, there have been no reports of fatalities, and this is the second time that mass kidnappings were carried out. The first was in Kebbi, where 25 students were kidnapped and later released. And videos that were released by the kidnappers showed that, contrary to what government officials may have said, there were negotiations that resulted in the release of the 25 students. In 25, over 290 students from a school in Chibok were kidnapped, and up to date, over 90 of those girls are yet to be released. Government has not been making much information known about what is the fate of those girls are, and there have been complaints by the parents that even some of the girls that strayed back have been kept by the state government and have not been released back to their parents. And as well, Leah Sharibu, the only Christian girl who was kidnapped from Dapchi in Yobe State, is yet to be released. She is said to have been forcefully married and remarried to several commanders of the Boko Haram and has had several children from different commanders of the Boko Haram. Government is yet to make known any efforts that have been made to release the girl Leah Sharibu. And of course, the sad news is that on the 8th in Lamurde, local government of Adamawa State, witnesses said that soldiers opened fire on women who were protesting, resulting in the killing of several women. The military, of course, disputed the responsibility and blamed local militias, weapon handling for being responsible for the killing. Altogether, the fatalities are said to be up to 9, with several injuries reported. But however, this does not appear to be part of the attacks by militias. It appears that there were protests by different ethnic groups and the military intervened.
Again, it was the Chibok community that attacked the Bachama community. And soldiers came in a bit late. And so the women in the community, the women of Lamurde, came out to protest the fact that the soldiers were always coming late. So women within the community felt that the soldiers have been partial and they have not done their work very well. So they were not happy to see the soldiers. They came out and blocked the road. And they were carrying leaves. Let me emphasize this, leaves. That was all they were holding. Nothing more than that. And unfortunately, at the end of it, soldiers opened fire on women, Nigerian women that they are supposed to protect, women that they are supposed to keep safe. soldiers opened fire on them. Right now, from the report I have, the situation is fluid, but from the report we have reliably, 7 have died, and 11 of them were hit.
And of course, in Nigeria, this is not the first time that we've had soldiers going on duties, even the Nigerian Air Force going on duties that unfortunately friendly fire gets to kill a lot of people. It has happened several times in Borno State and in Kaduna State and in several areas where the Air Force have intervened. Of course, around the world and all through history, it is known that friendly fire also kills and has been very deadly in killing. Some estimates say that friendly fire is responsible for up to 15% of battlefield fatalities. And also in Nigeria, this time the authorities in Burkina Faso detained a Nigerian aircraft that was said, according to the Nigerian military, to have developed problems 1:30 and landed in Burkina Faso, and the authorities in Burkina Faso detained initially 11 of the military personnel. Now, there were controversies initially and reports that the C-130 was on its way to Benin Republic in support of the Nigerian efforts to quell the military coup. However, later reports did say that the aircraft was on its way to Portugal for some duties when the aircraft developed problem and the pilot was forced to land under emergency conditions in Burkina Faso. Of course, this came in the wake of the intervention of Nigeria, intervention that does not appear to be popular in Nigeria or in the West African region. And of course, it seemed to have ignited the rivalry and the confusion between Nigeria and the Sahel countries that have since pulled out of ECOWAS and created their own group. And in a very strange move, France disclosed that Nigeria had requested support against worsening security challenges in the country, the issues of kidnapping, insurgency, and according to government, communal violence. The Tinubu government and the French authorities are seeking to work together. Of course, this is coming on the heels of the refusal of the Nigerian government to accept support from the United States government that has said it wants to intervene in the country to flush out the terrorists who are killing Christians in Nigeria. And of course, this action by the government is likely to further worsen the relationship between Nigeria and the neighboring countries, especially Niger, Chad, Burkina Faso, and Mali, countries that have since broken their relationship with France and have asked France to withdraw from their country because the presence of France, according to them, has not helped in fighting insurgency. And some of those countries have indeed gone ahead to request and have asked for the Wagner group in Russia to help them quell the rebellion that appears to be expanding. It threatens to weaken or destroy the fragile cooperation that should be existing in a strong way between Nigeria and the neighboring countries to curb the expanding activities of Al-Qaeda, which appears to be gaining ground in the Sahel. And in Bokoyom local government area of Zamfara State, there have been reports that bandits killed a local government vice chairman and abducted 5 nursing mothers in fresh raid. And of course, one person was said to have been killed. And this appears to be happening in an area where some Local government councils and communities have signed peace pacts with these bandits and terrorists. And in Sabon Birni local government area of Sokoto State, the Nigerian army reported that it had killed a notorious bandit or bandit kingpin, Kachala Kalamu, during an offensive. The 8th Division of the Nigerian Army was reported to have carried out the operations. The kingpin was reportedly killed. Other casualties were not named. Of course, this shows that the military appears to have upgraded its attack capabilities. And in Plateau State, Jos, there was a crash. A trailer rammed into a bus that killed University of Jos students. This was a major accident, and there were confirmed killing of 8 people. This is not about bandits, it's about human security. The manner, the traffic, and driving on the roads have been taking place. And in the troubled Benue State government area, a joint operation reportedly killed 3 suspected bandits and recovered motorcycles from them. Of course, this also shows that the military appears to be upending its activities in several areas. The Nigerian Senate towards the weekend approved the president's request for troop deployment in the Benin Republic after the coup attempt that took place in that country. The Nigerian Senate as well approved the ambassadorial appointments made by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and it's expected that there will be Nigerian boots on the ground in Benin Republic. Whether this will open a new security front or will help Nigeria is yet to be seen. But the government appears to be saying that it is playing its traditional role of enforcing democracy, the way it was done in Sierra Leone and Liberia by the military government. And at that time, of course, there was the joke in the newspapers that Nigeria was importing what it had, that is oil, and was exporting what it did not have, that is democracy, to Sierra Leone and to Liberia. And to other parts of Africa, opposition blocs held a major protest to end what they call a one-man rule and release of detained opposition figures in Tunisia. Earlier, the day before, a court in Tunisia has sentenced Abir Morsi to 12 years amid broader detention. There is escalating political polarization within that country, and that raises the possibility and probability of protest, police confrontations in the weeks to come. The protests in Tunisia, of course, bring to mind the protests that took place in Cameroon and Tanzania over elections, where the leaders decided to detain as many opposition figures as they wanted, and in some cases even decided to ban opposition political parties. And in Guinea-Bissau, where the president banned political parties, suspended, imprisoned some, and even disqualified presidential candidates, the president still lost the election, according to reports. And because he did not want the opposition to be announced winners, he decided himself to invite the military to take over the country. He announced the coup by himself before the military said that they had intervened. President Goodluck Jonathan and another head of state from Africa, another African country, were in that country when the airspace was closed and they had to be ferried out of that country. President Goodluck Jonathan has since said that the coup was an RNG, according to Nigerian slang, by the government. The president, who had apparently lost the election, decided to detain the election officials and, of course, invited the military to take over. And on Sunday, ISIS-linked attack killed 2 U.S. soldiers and a civilian interpreter during a terror mission. There were several injuries, and the United States government is furious that such an activity took place. And of course, this confirms that ISIS, even though one of its members has become the president of Syria, it still has ability and still has its anti-American slang, despite the fact that the United States has dropped sanctions against the Syrian government, an action that was taken recently, and there were celebrations all over Syria to welcome the drop of the sanctions. And in Gaza, again, Israel killed senior Hamas commander. His name is Raid Said in an airstrike. Hamas health authorities reported additional deaths and injuries. The action was taken by the Israeli government. Now, what is your take about the situation in Nigeria? Do you think that governments deciding to intervene in Benin Republic will help Nigeria's security situation? Now, these are the issues. The first one is that Nigeria has an uneasy relationship with Burkina Faso, Mali, Chad, and Niger Republic. These countries provided a buffer. And of course, Nigeria partly funded the multinational joint task force that was stationed in, I think, and that task force helped and encouraged those countries to help us to stop bandits and Boko Haram and ISWAP and Al-Qaeda fighters from entering into Nigeria. The attempt of Nigeria to intervene in the coup that took place in Niger Republic resulted into a situation where we had the Sahel countries leaving the ECOWAS. And today we are now having Nigerian government, in spite of all the security challenges, intervening in Benin Republic to support democracy. But of course, there are analysts that believe that the president wants to give impression to the US that the government is on top of the security situation in the country and has the capability to as well enforce democracy in some countries. But of course, his critics believe that the action that is being taken might be because the president may be wanting to copy the tactics that the president in Benin Republic used in winning his election, a tactics which he had planned to use to enthrone his successor in Benin Republic. Now, what if all these actions of the government result into a breakdown of law and order in Benin Republic? Will Nigeria be able to stop it? And what will be the impact? And what is the impact of the actions of Nigeria on the increasing southward movement of Al-Qaeda, which admitted that it had carried out 2 attacks in Nigeria, killing 1 soldier at first, and in the second attack, killing the second soldier? Let me have your views about these actions that Nigeria is taking, whether they will help our security or worsen the security situation in Nigeria. Again, my name is Rimamnde Shawulu.